If you live in Michigan, then you're more than likely have encountered a heavy amount of fog at one point or another. I'm not exactly sure why it gets so foggy. I'm not no weather expert. Hell, I'm not even from Michigan, so that much fog, that often, was a bit new for me. I actually moved here recently from Nebraska, where heat, humidity, and thunderstorms were pretty common. I live in a house outside of Alto, close to I-96. When you're not in one of the major cities like Grand Rapids or the Detroit area, you're pretty much living in the country, from what I've noticed. At least, that's where I lived. A nice house with a long driveway, a big yard, both front and back, and surrounded by trees. I also have a nice full-time job in Hastings at an insurance company. My girlfriend of 4 years is in the medical field. She's not at home a lot, but she still brings in quite a bit of money. She's trying to become a PA and wants to wait to get married until she finishes school. For the two of us, everything was well. Not the most fantastic life because, let's face it, I work in insurance. But we were happy. I drove to work every weekday at 7 a.m. to ensure I get to Hastings early enough for my shift. This doesn't happen every day, but sometimes the drive is extremely foggy, especially in the spring and summer. I can't even see 10 feet in front of me most of the time. Normally it doesn't bother me. I'm a very cautious driver and I found the fog quite soothing at a time, as if I was driving on an endless road and had nowhere else to be. It made me enjoy the drive even more than normal. As much as I missed my former state, I had to admit that Michigan was very beautiful and plentiful, so the drive wasn't so bad anyways, even without the fog, but the fog had this way of making me feel so consolidated and worried free. Up until just the other night, however. Just the other night, my girlfriend and I were watching old seasons of Grey's Anatomy on Netflix. It was the episode where the patient came in with an undetonated rocket in his chest. Anyways, all of a sudden I noticed a very slight ringing in the air. I didn't catch it at first because the volume was so loud that it could have easily been mistaken as a paper or phone from the show. But then the show became silent, as it does sometimes, as Dr. Burke was whispering to Meredith to call for a code black. I could still hear the faint ring in the air. "Hey, do you have your phone on you?" I asked as I pulled mine out from my pocket. My girlfriend responded, "No, I have it charging in the bedroom. Why?" "I think it might be ringing. One second, I'll be right back." I headed off into our bedroom on the ground floor. Her phone was indeed plugged in, charging on the nightstand next to the bed. I picked up the iPhone and saw a black screen. It wasn't dead, but it definitely wasn't ringing. After lighting up the screen, I didn't see any indication of a missed call, voicemail, email, or text message. It was at a point I noticed the sound was actually coming from outside our house. I looked outside the window to investigate, but it was so immensely foggy that I couldn't see past my own backyard. I left the bedroom and went to the kitchen, which was through the living room. "Who was it?" my girlfriend asked. "Your phone wasn't ringing. That noise is coming from outside. I'm going to check it out." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" my girlfriend asked. "It's pretty dark out there." "I'll be okay. I just need to make sure there's nobody out there." I then walked into the kitchen and turned on the porch light to illuminate the backyard. I could still barely hear the ring coming from outside, but the fog was so thick that I could only see as far as the tree line. Beyond that was completely blind to the naked eye. I grabbed the flashlight from the nearby kitchen drawer, which housed some of our common household items, like batteries and scissors, then opened the back door. The fog creeped its way in like the water flowing into a narrow strait. I stepped out into the thick and shut the door behind me. One step after another, I progressed towards the sound of the ring. I knew I was maneuvering the right way since it got louder. Then all of a sudden, I found myself stopping at the tree line. A general uneasiness came over me. I felt as if someone was somehow watching me through the fog. But how? I could barely see my house from the tree line. There's no way anyone could see out here. The continuous ringing snapped me back to reality. Regardless of whether or not I wanted to, I just had to determine the source. So I stepped through the first row of trees onto the fallen leaves and twigs, leaving noisy snaps in their wake. It wasn't a long walk. I probably went about 1,000 feet into the woods from where my yard met the tree line. The ringing from the device kept getting louder and louder until I finally saw it. As I took one more step, I saw a light emanating from something just a few feet away. I bent down to pick it up, whatever laid there. As it turns out, I was right in assuming that it was a phone. While I didn't recognize the phone, I did see that it was one of those old Motorola's. You know, the phones that were extremely popular back in the early 2000s? I have no idea how long it had been ringing, but this whole time it didn't go to voicemail. I looked at the screen as it lit up through the fog, and it was a call coming from an unknown phone number. The odd thing about this is the no service that displayed on the top left of the screen. How is it possible that a phone this old would be getting a phone call all the way out here with no service? It doesn't make any sense. The uneasiness that I previously felt had flowed back into my body like the fog flowing through the forest. I pressed the little green phone button and held the receiver to my ear. Hello? I didn't hear anything but static. This could have been due to the poor service, so I tried speaking again. Is anyone there? More static. I went to shut the phone, assuming the service was the reason for the bad call, but then I heard something other than static coming from the receiving end. Not a voice, but something that sounded like it was being played through a speaker that just so happened to travel through this caller's phone. Not only did it sound like it was coming from a speaker, but I recognized it too. What was playing through the phone was a TV show. Grey's Anatomy. It was the same episode that was playing when I left the house before. Who is this? I responded. All of a sudden I heard sobbing on the other end from a familiar voice. Ease. Help. Me. I froze in place. The voice I heard on the other end was my girlfriend's voice. I immediately turned around and sprint back towards my house, and then that's when I saw it. Through the fog between my house and I was a man, or at least what I could assume was a man. The only reason I could see him was because of the lights I had turned on at my house. They had revealed the shadowy figure silhouette through the fog. I went to shine my flashlight on it, but as soon as the beam approached the figure, it was gone faster than the light could reveal it. I panicked and looked all around me, shining a light in different directions. I saw it again, only this time it was further away from me. It had jumped to the left of where I found the phone. I couldn't see its face, but I could feel its stare. All became silent until my girlfriend's voice blared through the call, now more clear than ever before. Save me! I darted out towards my home in an all-out sprint. As soon as my feet left the earth, I saw the figure sprint right along with me towards the house. Over every branch, through every bush, and past every tree, the figure strode alongside me. I ran and ran until I finally made it to my backyard. I stopped for a moment and looked around. I saw no signs of a man making it back here before me, and it didn't look like it was following me either. I ran back into the house and yelled my girlfriend's name. She walked in the kitchen. What the hell is going on? She asked. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? Where did he go? A lot of confusion ran across her face. What are you talking about? I've been sitting here waiting for you to come back. I swear, all of the color must have left my face. I lived a pretty normal life, and this level of fear had never rushed through my body before. I began to realize that everything in the house was okay. I heard her voice come through the still open cell phone again. My girlfriend's voice came laughing through the receiver, getting deeper with every chuckle. "What the hell is that?" she asked. I found it out in the woods. I heard you calling out to me, telling me to come back. I saw a man in the woods, so I came back here as fast as I could to save you, but..." The laugh came bursting through the phone again. Only this time it didn't sound anything like her. Instead, it started sounding like me. "Watch out, honey. I saw someone out there in the woods. Don't trust anyone until I come back." I stood there puzzled, both of us completely wide-eyed, staring at the phone until it started laughing again. It kept laughing, eventually taking over the TV and the radio speakers. Hell, even the speakers in our cars were echoing this thing's laughter. No matter how much we covered our ears, it still seeped through to haunt our minds. I grabbed my girlfriend's arm and took her to the bedroom closet. I shut her inside and walked around the house, making sure the doors and windows were shut and locked. I took the Motorola cell phone and placed it on the kitchen counter. Even after taking a hammer to the device, the laughing still echoed across the premises. I peeked through the curtains into my backyard. The light I turned on earlier attempted to beam through the fog, but it almost failed to do so. It could illuminate the silhouettes of the dozens of shadowy figures that stood in my yard. "Good Lord," I gasped. The fear I felt previously had been trumped by an external terror. Where had they come from? Who are they? What do they want? All these questions didn't yield any answers, only more questions. Just then, the stereo started playing music. I recognized the song. "Here Comes the Boogeyman" by Henry Hall. In hindsight, it may have been a little cliche, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. The laughing had ceased from the rest of the speakers, but I could still see the figures outside in the fog. I retreated back into the bedroom with my girlfriend. "What's going on out there?" my girlfriend asked, sobbing uncontrollably. "I can't. There are so many of them outside." I replied, still eerily listening to the lyrics of the creepy song by Henry Hall.
"Hush, hush, here comes the boogeyman. Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if he can."
I don't know what or who these things are, but Boogeyman might be an accurate depiction. It felt like we were prey being played with before they swoop and eat us up in one bite. Just then I heard a loud crash coming from the kitchen, followed by running footsteps on the tile. They must have collectively busted down the door and successfully broken into our home. It was only a matter of time now. We were far from morning, and who knows if light of the day would even scare them off. The fog could be their home, and it's not like it'll go away as soon as the sun comes up. So what do we do? Do we go out there and try to fight our way through them? We'd get swarmed up in an instant. I can only imagine what those things would do to us, and my imagination can run pretty rampant from disgusting ways of dying. Being ripped apart limb from limb by 4 of them at once didn't sound like a risk I was willing to take. One thing I seem to notice is they appear to be only able to speak or communicate verbally through electronic speakers. I don't know if they can talk with each other using other means, but they haven't done anything at all to verbally communicate outside of utterly terrifying use of our speakers. With that in mind, it was really hard to tell if one of those things was running around in the living room, because that's where we heard audio from the speakers, or if they were standing right in front of our closet door waiting to sucker us into opening up. Collectively, my girlfriend and I came up with the eerily silent decision that we just need to huddle up and hide in the closet until the fog clears in the morning. I didn't sleep at all. How could I? It's not like we are actively trying to sleep and wait out a home invasion in our closet. I don't blame my girlfriend for doing so, though. Pure exhaustion knocked her out around 3 a.m. While we were hiding under a pile of blankets in the closet, she just laid with me while I heavily guarded the closet door as if my life depended on it, because I'm almost positive that it did. Audio stopped playing through the speakers around 5 a.m., roughly around the time the sky started turning from dark black to a dark blue as the sun started to rise. Although we got that relatively good sign, I could still hear the footsteps of the creatures roaming around in the house. I'm not sure if they were searching or just roaming to roam. I really don't know what their goals are, but they didn't bash down or even knock at the closet door while we were hiding. Eventually, around 7:30 a.m., the footsteps started receding as well. The house and our property now sat in the most deadly silence I've ever experienced. It almost scared me even more than actually hearing the footsteps. At least then I knew they were there. Now I'm second guessing whether or not they are. I swallowed the frog in my throat and slowly opened the closet door. The rays of the sun peeked through the blinds of our bedroom window, like they did every morning. The fog had finally cleared out, and not one person or creature was in sight. Surprisingly, the only damage to our property was the bashed down door in the kitchen that they used to get in. Otherwise, the only noticeable occurrence that happened is every single door, whether a bedroom door, a bathroom door, cabinet door, car door, even all the drawers in the house were left wide open. All of them. Well, all except one. Strange how they opened everything with a hinge except for the one place where my girlfriend and I were hiding. At this point, I'm almost positive that they knew where we were the entire time. I don't know what their overall goal was, but it wasn't to kill us. Whether they live off the fear of the prey or if they're toying with us until they come back is beyond my realm of understanding. We weren't going to stay and find out, though. We both instantly decided that we were leaving Michigan behind. Fog isn't native here, but it happens often enough that I want no part in whatever scheme those demonic creatures had in their minds. We quit our jobs, packed up our small house that very same day, and drove southwest. Lucky for us, my mother let us stay with her in Nebraska until we found an incredibly cozy area in El Paso, Texas. Yeah, I know that's pretty far from Nebraska and Michigan, but we wanted to get as far away as Michigan's fog as we could. So far, we were living happily. We got new jobs, a nice new home, and we even adopted an adorable chocolate lab puppy to keep us company. Things were starting to get back to normal. That is, until a package arrived on our doorstep one late afternoon. It was a brown Amazon delivery envelope with my name on it. I opened up to find an old early 2000 Motorola. My heart sank, as I remembered this was the same type of phone that I picked up in the woods that night. I flipped it open and saw that there was a voicemail. I didn't want to listen to it, but I knew if I didn't, I might get a surprise worse than the one I got in the fog. I called the voicemail box and listened to the message. Children, have you ever met the boogeyman before? No, of course you haven't, for you're too good. I'm sure. Don't you be afraid of them if they should visit you, for if you try to run again, they'll slowly murder you. As the voice of Henry Hall sang in his modified boogeyman tone, I realized there was no escaping the fog. Hush, hush. Here comes the boogeyman. Don't bother trying to run from them. They'll catch you when they can.